Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. And I hit the wrong button and kicked Jesse off the channel.
I might have kicked myself off the channel. Okay. I realized I wasn't like logged into StreamYard, and I'm like, I have a StreamYard account. I'll log in, and then I'm like, oh wait, I think I just exited the show.
Yeah. Okay, it was funny because it happened at the exact moment I was adding you to the screen, so I thought I did something. But that's neither here nor there.
It was you. How's it going, John?
Good. So I'll redo my intro. Hi, how you doing? This is John. Welcome to John's Long Box. Tonight we're having a conversation with Jesse Blaze Snider. How you doing?
That's me. I'm great. How are you, man?
Good. For those of you who don't know, Jesse and I, we took a road trip like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going on a date.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going. I had to drive to your house. I didn't know. Knocked on the door. Stranger answered the door. What are you doing? I'm here to pick up Jesse. They look at my car, make sure it looks safe. It was like, all right, be home reasonable.
It was a mandate.
Where you going? Someplace in New Jersey. I don't know where it is. I'm just following MapQuest or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. No, I was so happy you invited me. He was going to the show, Long Drive in Jersey, and we're both on Long Island. We're only like 15 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, wouldn't it be nice to have like some company? I don't know. Maybe Jesse would like to go, to a comic book convention after party. Absolutely. I love cons. And I haven't been able to go to one in so long. I stopped going to conventions for like 5 years because I was having marital problems, and I didn't really there was a lot of temptation at conventions, and I was like, I don't know.
Those big fat bearded comic book guys are hot. I can totally understand.
But there's cosplayers and there's other people, and there are some real cool nerd chicks or whatever. And I would literally be like sitting there going, okay, don't come back here because it just made me want to interact in a deeper way with the world in ways that, I was feeling a little unsatisfied in my relationship at home. So it was, unfortunate I stopped, and then COVID came. So it's been like almost a decade since I've done conventions because I was doing conventions because I was working for Marvel and DC and Disney Pixar, and I was constantly trying to get all those editors and be pitching them shit. And then when I went independent, it wasn't as important. So there was like a little in-between part too of it's like I wasn't ready to put up a big booth of my shit at a convention. I was still building the properties that I was going to start to release and the things that I would make. So it's crazy. I was really happy to go to that show with you and just meet some people. And I've already turned into a couple little relationships and stuff. So it's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. What happened was Graham Nolan, the creator of Bane, he worked with Chuck Dixon. They created Bane. I forget the name of the convention, but it was in New Jersey, and I looked it up. It was only an hour and a half away. So I said, you know what, this is a good opportunity to go meet people. So Graham Nolan put out a general invitation, and so I put on Twitter, anybody live nearby, want to go for a ride? Whatever, I'll drive. And then I remember that you only live I don't want to name the town. I don't want to dox you, but I remember you said that it was 10 minutes away.
Well, you had reached out to me and you said, hey, you ever want to get lunch? But I didn't see that message. And I was going through my messages, and just, I guess, a couple days around when you were looking for that, I came across and I said, what is this message? She said, he invited me to lunch and I didn't freaking get back to him. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'd love to get lunch. You got it. Hit me back. So it was perfect.
We drove out there. It was raining. It was the worst circumstance, and I didn't know where I was. Amazing, people got anywhere before Google Maps and everything. You know what I mean? I just trust my phone. Just typed in an address and trusted my phone. So
I learned that the hard way when I was living in California for the first time for 3 months while I was shooting this reality show, and every single day I would go to the same place, or at least 3 days a week I would go to the same place, and I'd driven there at least 30 times. And one day I forgot my phone and I had to drive there from memory. I had no memory. I couldn't get there. And I literally went, that's it. I'm never going to mindlessly follow GPS if it's anywhere important ever again. I gotta look around. I gotta figure out where I'm going.
I put on a podcast to drive, but so you and I were just talking, and there was I was joking to my wife. I said there was a vacuum of oxygen behind us because you and we could both talk.
Oh yeah,
yeah. We can both
I
talk.
love it when I get people who are like more like me, like me and Aaron, there's never an idea that somebody's talking over each other or whatever. I thought like, conversation was like a combat sport. It's like, if you know the answer, throw it out, and when like the people who are more motivated, oh, we'll get it. It's my turn now. I'm going to push you over and I'm going to get in there. But like when you talk with more meek people, you start to go, oh, I'm sorry. Am I like too much? Should I?
Well, I do like to talk, and I'll talk to anybody, but usually it's one-on-one. If you saw me at the party, and I saw you at the party too, we both did the same thing. We talked to each other, we touched base, we went off and talked, but it's not like we got into a crowd of people. I talk one-on-one with almost everybody at the party.
Well, you can
and
get
Paul Thayer, I want to apologize. I didn't know you were at the party. He didn't know I was at the party. Guy's been on my channel 3 times, and we must have just been facing the wrong direction. We did not know that each other was at the party until we came home. So, but I got to talk with Pat Broderick, one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. Graham Nolan is a great gentleman. He knew who I was. He came over, shook my hand. Who am I? Graham Nolan, guy created Bane. Played it in movies. Yeah, a character. And Ethan Van Sciver was there. He recognized me, and we started talking. Cecil was there. I still think Cecil's got to be like one of the most charming people I've ever met. I'm trying to go through all the list, and forgive me if I don't remember. Yeah, Von Coleman was there. So many other people, and now people whose names I know by Twitter, and now I'm forgetting their real names, but so many.
There's
cool
a lot
people.
of new people, in the industry.
Oh,
People coming in.
Andy Smith. Andy Smith was there. Dan Fraga.
Yeah, Andy Smith. What's funny? Andy Smith. I was standing next to him for a second because I wanted to give him a compliment on a bit of work that he had done ages ago, and then I literally had like a little bit of like a fear of like, am I wrong about this project that he like? I'm pretty positive I'm not.
Yeah, you get a little self-conscious.
Well, it's something I really like, and I'm like, but I've done that before where I accidentally said like the wrong thing to a person that I was trying to compliment them, and he was talking to some other people, and I literally just went, all right, this isn't important. But he drew, if I'm correct, the first Deadly Duo miniseries for the Savage Dragon universe comic. The Deadly Duo series was great. The Deadly Duo characters are 2 of my favorite characters in all of the Savage Dragon universe, and the miniseries, the first one in particular, was really good. Yeah. And he drew that, and it was really well drawn, and I liked it a lot. And I wanted to compliment him. But
speaking of people saying the wrong things, EVS bumps into you and starts singing Slade songs to you instead of.
Oh yeah, well, EVS was trying to see when EVS sees me, he's insecure because my dad's a rock star. So he always tries to like
literally a rock star. He's not just saying that like your dad's a rock star. Because,
No, my dad's an actual rock star. That's somebody that Ethan looks up to. So his insecurity comes out, and he always tries to make me uncomfortable to make up for the fact that he's uncomfortable. But
you don't get uncomfortable.
I don't get uncomfortable. So he literally just ends up making himself subordinate to me by like announcing that like a big deal's here, says Ethan Van Sciver. And I'm like, all right, cool. So, like,
I just realized I'm neglecting the chat.
Yeah.
Proper streamlined.
Like one of my favorite artists.
I gotta address the chat. We got Derail Great Gaming. I backed this book earlier today. Cool. You back Jesse. We'll talk about Jesse's book in a minute.
Yeah, thank you.
He really likes the artist, and not just because of the boobs. That's a bonus. This jerk Charles Longbox. Oh no, this is yours. I was gonna say this isn't mine. This is your this. You could click here to go to Jesse's comic Effing for the Future. I'm keeping it family friendly.
Effing for the.
We got Mad Ruth. Mad Ruth's a great guy. I was just on his channel. A couple guys. Dave is my role player. We just sat over here on Sunday, and I didn't kill his character for the first time ever.
Oh yeah, what game do you guys play? I'm a Rifts guy.
We play villains and vigilantes. It's a superhero-based game, and Dave basically rolled up Superman. It's awesome. So he's first levels. He's like Golden Age Superman. He could jump an eighth of a mile, slightly invulnerable. He can do everything but fly. It's really, really cool. And he rolled it up randomly. Based art department. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hey guys.
The live stream of consciousness. Jesse Blaze. What's up, John? I love seeing new names. Oh, this is one of your friends.
That's my buddy Michael Zinn.
Oh, okay.
He does a great show, a really cool spiritual show, Esoteric Wisdom, worth checking out.
Thank you. Yeah, come on. I love guests. We got your comic. again, effing for the future. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's live right now, right? You can still,
Yeah, it's live right now. We're down to our last week, and really, it's cool. We've been like rolling out extra stuff, like additive things to the campaign. Which, if you go all in or get the effing everything package, which is like the nudity package, the value of what you're getting now is
yes, you will show up to your house naked.
It's been increasing like crazy, so it's like a really good value now. I'm very happy with like how it's all shaken out. So, but we could use
Oscar over here. Oscar is a colorist on my comic, and I recently discovered a phenomenal artist. Check out his stuff. We got. I'm so glad to meet you guys. Oh, we did meet. We did meet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to remember your face and your real name. And also Heroinberg. Heroinberg was one of the first people to ever reach out to me. It was great to meet him. So
yes, I remember you were telling the story.
Yeah,
you were
can't imagine
so
happy
about
what
that.
time did you get home? I dropped you off at what, 4?
Oh yeah, something pretty late. We got home right. But it was great. We had a great time.
I felt like a teenager. I expected my wife to meet me at the door yelling at me, but she was like, "Did you have fun?" Because she knows how.
I think we lucked out in terms of, when you go to a show with somebody that you like, you're good, because worst case scenario, you got somebody. That's why me and Aaron Sparrow go to, all the conventions together whenever we can, because I've always got a friend there. And it doesn't matter if anybody else shows up that I like, or if anybody has any energy to have conversations. Me and Aaron, we could talk. Me and John, we could talk.
We talk. We did. We talked. Yeah. We stopped at a Wawa, which I love. We don't have Wawas in New York. Great coffee. This is my fund my comic is going to be my home, but I wanted to do a different cover on Kickstarter just to see if Kickstarter was something good for me. So I launched 4 days ago on Kickstarter. I just have $1,000 goal. I'm at 400 right now. I'll bring it up in a minute during the campaign portion of our talk. So you could get a different cover by Michael T. Gilbert, a legendary comic artist who did Mr. Monster.
Yes, Ben, he was handing out his Pixel comic. Ben, you're so awesome.
Oh, that's who. Yes. It's right on my on my end table. That's right. That's good bubble gum. That's what Dan Fraga said.
You're easier to recognize on Twitter than on YouTube. He did a really cool thing, guys. For those of you guys who are like trying to get into the industry and whatnot, Ben was really cool. He made a very, very simple, pixel-driven story. I don't know if it was like 8 pages or what. I'm forgetting right now how many pages it was, but a short little ash can size book as a writer that he was given around, so he could demonstrate, hey, I'm clever. I've come up with some clever things. I like to write and want to work in comics. Brilliant, man. Really, really great stuff. And I was really glad to meet you and to see somebody like you do it, because that's the kind of thinking that our industry needs. It's the stuff that makes people go, oh, that's new. I've never seen that before. Comics can constantly be new things that no one's ever seen before. And the fact that it's not most of the time kind of pisses me off, because we're just limiting ourselves so much to basically honoring things that people we love have done in the past without necessarily bringing them forward or adding anything new to it. Graphic novels exist. We can go back in time and we can get these collections and we can read Steve Englehart's work, and we can read Jack Kirby, and we can read any number of people that you might be honoring. But to honor your particular story, and for your particular story to be uniquely interesting in its own fucking way, and for you to be honoring the ways in which it's interesting, that creates a world and a story and characters that people want to buy and people want to interact with. So, don't be afraid to do what Ben's doing here. Make a little ash can, and it's all digital, and here's my original idea, and it's a new way of doing the thing. Nobody else has done this before. Nobody's thought about this before. Honoring our heroes is a mixed bag. It's all well and good to honor your heroes, and occasionally you can do something where you're just, this is a send up to this classic kind of whatever. But honestly, the world would be better off with your unique creativity coming through in its strongest form than it would be with you doing a poor man's impression of Stan Lee or Jack Kirby or any of the greats.
I was with him when Dan Fraga said he liked it. So that was really cool. That made his night. Yeah.
I wanted to say hi to Dan Fraga too, but I didn't want to bother him either. I'm so weird when there are artists that like I kind of like, or I have like a little bit of personal history with. I tend not to. I get shy.
Yeah. if you remember when we first got there, what did we do? Me and you both leaned against the wall, and
Yeah.
this was a mistake.
Yeah. Most people don't imagine that I might be shy, like, because like I'm so outgoing, but I'm outgoing if I like you. Like if I like you and I feel
It took
comfortable,
me a little bit.
I'm outgoing. But if I'm not necessarily, like if I don't feel, then I'll just be quiet and I'll be in the corner. And sometimes people will be like, Jesse's very antisocial, or they'll say Jesse thinks he's better than everybody. But like, no, I'm just a little shy.
Like I said, I leaned against the wall. Me and you were leaning against the wall. It was kind of drizzling. Everybody was just sitting around already. And I like, this was a mistake. And then we went inside out of the rain, and I wish I could remember that guy's name who had that other comic. He came up to me and he's like, "You're John from John's Long Box," and he really liked my character, the Patriarch, because he was doing a comic book about father. And me and him started talking. And then, if you remember, Cecil came over.
The black gentleman.
Yeah.
I
wish I could remember his name. I have his card up.
Following him on Instagram. Yeah. He was great. I really liked. I loved his.
And that just started like a whole conversation. I guess it took me out of my shell. After that, it was awesome.
Yeah, no, that was it. That was the turning point. When we went inside for a minute, we were talking to that girl who's working on her own independent graphic novel.
Yeah.
She was really cool, and he was super cool. He heard like our conversation, was like, sounds like a nice conversation. So he came over to join us really quickly, and he was great. He said a couple things that here he is. His company's called what? It's Two Land Comics.
Two Land Comics. Yeah, I had the card.
Two Land Comics is his company. I forget what his name is. But he said something brilliant to us. I was like, man, you're talking sense. So it was great. It's a great night. You know, for me, it's always just a matter of like just breaking the ice with some of the people who are sweet and innocent and into the subject matter like I am, because like if you're into comics, that's what I'm into. And if you're cool, like I'm cool, I'll talk about comics all day long. I love this shit.
I just got to give a shout out to my work partner, Pete. He watches these and he goes, hey, I always comment and you never address me. So Pete, are you watching? And if so, I'll say something in the comments and I'll make sure that I don't miss you this time.
Oh, see, Ben says cool. he was interacting with Two Land. He said that his salesmanship was so good. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the quality of some of this stuff, like I wish it was a little better, but in general, I quite like it. It's good enough. It's kids comics, and the heart behind what he's doing is really, really good. And I really just, believe we got to support that. Yeah,
because we connected, because both of our characters were about fathers, so he was like, oh, I got to admit, going someplace 2 hours away from home and people like, oh, you're John from John's Long Box. That, that was, I was like, oh, wow, my head got all big. Everybody says it was very humbling. No, it wasn't humbling.
That was so cool. It was, John, I did a pretty early episode with you already, didn't I?
Yes. Yeah. This is your second time on.
This is my second time on, right? That was like one of your first episodes, I guess?
Not well, I've been doing this for 3 years, but I only started doing talks with people maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So, most of it was just like me in a comic book talking to nobody, getting previews. And it was Heroinberg and it was RJ from the Fourth Age that for whatever reason, they took likings to me. And it was just like, that was like a trebuchet, Oh, and Yang, how you doing? Yang Zhao. I always say that absolutely wrong. One of my favorite people.
You're building a really nice community here, John. And I mean, it couldn't be happening to a nicer gentleman. I think I told you, he and I got put into like this little back chat room on Twitter, and there's like all these creators there. And honestly, like he's the only one that I connected with. Everybody else, this all just seemed like not real people. Not like genuine people coming from a genuine place.
We cultivate our own online world or culture. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you come out swinging, people are going to come out swinging. Like I had 2 people take shots at me. One of them, I stupidly fell for the bait and instantly regretted it. And then just cold turkey. So I was just saying this, I forget, a couple of days ago, but when it comes to online, my wife is very good with this. She reminds me, she goes, you don't know what people's intentions are because you're just reading text. You fill in the inflections. So and I joke, you know, when my wife first moved into my family, she didn't get all the ribbing. You know what I mean? Italian, Irish, Catholic family. You
Yeah.
know, it's like if you drop a spoon at dinner time, you're like, oh, this klutz. You know, for the next 6 years, you're the klutz until somebody else does something worse. So that was rough for her. So
Yeah.
I'm used to it, and sometimes I forget that other people may not be. So my philosophy is I take everything online in the best possible interpretation, the best intentions, unless I know exactly that you're trying to insult or start a fight. So, and
can I say something about that real
yeah,
quick?
sure. Yeah, you can tell that
Because I just think this is really interesting about the internet and like how this shit kind of goes sometimes. Because I've been like the way I've made money traditionally is voiceovers and hosting on television. And I've been a host on TV since I was 19. So and when I was 19, I had a band, the garage band up and coming band. We had a website. But as soon as I was on TV, man, holy shit, people will come out of the woodwork to shit on you for no good reason. I mean, and
that's not hygiene. That's not good hygiene.
No, it's not. and the craziest thing though to me that I realized very quickly is that as much as it might seem like really venom driven and like all these things, it's the equivalent of text messaging with a friend, and like somebody text messages you something and you're like, what the fuck, man? Like, and they're like, oh dude, I didn't mean it like that, I'm so sorry.
Right. Like my friend will message me something like, hey, you want to go to dinner next whatever, and I'll be at work, and we just got a break and there's everything going on. I get to, and I just write no and then go back to, and he's like, what did I piss you off?
What are you mad at me?
No,
did I make you upset?
I don't even remember the
man,
message.
you just got me at a wrong moment.
No, dude, I'm sorry. It was at work, and I just had a 30-second phone check break.
And what's that? What you just said is brilliant, right? It was the wrong moment when they called, right? So it was the wrong moment when they saw my text, my tweet, or they saw my thing. And in that wrong moment, they responded in like a really fucked up way. And I've just I consider it a badge of honor sometimes when I sense that there's miscommunication and there's silliness, and that if I just treat this person like a human being, all of a sudden the idea that I might think I'm above them or I'm using my soapbox to dominate them, it's going to dissolve away, and we'll be left with two human beings who are treating each other like human beings, and everything will be nice again. And dude, I have some people who are fans of mine. Like my biggest fans are some of the people who came straight out of the woodwork and like started shooting at me, just random fucking insults and stuff. And I literally went like, what the hell's going on? I mean, like one of my biggest fans, this guy John Jonathan, he was impersonating me online. Like, and normally speaking, I see all these people do this. I was a VJ and he was just pretending to be me and like posting things. And like when other people would have that happen, they go after these people and they're nasty to them and they yell at them and they're so fucked up to them. I'm going to get you arrested, like all this stuff. And I just reached out to him and I just went, hey man, I'm Jesse. Why are you pretending you're me? And I literally just started having a nice conversation with him of like,
I had a guy come online. I never interacted, and he was just like, your comic book looks old fashioned. It looks bad. Why would anybody spend money? So I just said, well, I like the old comics. If you don't like it, next issue, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Maybe you'll like it then, and he responded back, I'm sorry.
If you respect the criticism and go, oh well, that's okay. I hope that maybe the next thing that I put out you'll dig. Yo, what up, Twitter Trash?
That's my philosophy. Is what would Stan Lee do? Stan Lee would never do the Dan Slott F you guys.
No. Or if you don't like my politics, don't read my books. Are you fucking
that's
crazy?
The worst thing you could say. That's the worst.
Can I just say
I want to address based art department. He says, I think that's why I instantly clicked with you guys. That and the fact that you're 7'10". I did not want to piss you off. This is one big dude. So, when a big dude comes up to you and wants to shake your hand, you go, yes, sir. Would you like me to get you some Doritos? But
I didn't even notice that he's that big. Maybe it's just because I have some sort of illusory idea about how gigantic I am. But because I need to be gigantic so I can help save the world.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm gonna bring up your campaign. Where we go. Is it up? Oh, it's not. Good. I finally fixed this. Things would pop up before I was ready to pop up, and sometimes things shouldn't be popping up. So here we go. Now I can control it. So this is your campaign. Effing for the future.
Yes.
There you go. It's family friendly, as you can see.
You know what, man? To be perfectly honest, and I've been talking about people on this because I keep telling people it's very subversive. And somebody said to me, were you being ironic or sarcastic when you said it was subversive? And I said, no, absolutely not. It has all of the window dressings of a nude, an erotic book. There's nothing erotic about my book. We're using nudity to sell it. But every cover, if you look at every cover is not only sexy, it's also funny. Every cover has a joke built into it. Every single one of them.
When I do my nudity, it's very funny and not sexy. So I understand exactly what you're talking about.
But the actual premise of the book, it's a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. The women are Wile E. Coyote, and they need sperm, not roadrunners. They need sperm because the cloning machines in their area of the planet have stopped working, and now they need to perpetuate their species by going to reconnect with the men. So the story goes that 1,000 years ago, the men and the women decided to go their separate ways. The women went up north, and they took their robots and they used robots to basically terraform society and like build schools, build their whole apparatus, use cloning to continue their society. And they've got,
I have one question though. How did they open up pickle jars without men?
With robots.
Okay. All right.
Don't worry. They replaced the men with robots. I mean, like that's the thing. Literally in the comic, they replaced them with the sex robots because sex robots became more and more prevalent as the men and the women weren't having a good relationship anymore. So the women were like, screw the men. I'm just going to buy a sex robot. So they outfit the sex robots with like digging equipment and like guns and all the things that they need to go up north and terraform the planet into a matriarchal paradise. But 1,000 years later, their cloning machines aren't working. But meanwhile, the men, they went celibate for a little while. They got really smart, and then they cracked open their genetic code, and they rewrote their genetics, and they turned themselves into these Bigfoot creatures who never have penis envy because each generation's penis is slightly larger than the subsequent generations. So they're known now as the three-legged men.
Okay.
They haven't seen a woman in 1,000 years.
So they're Italian.
Yeah. They haven't seen a woman in 1,000 years, and the women haven't seen a man in 1,000 years, and the women aren't interested in men sexually. They just need the sperm so that they can keep the human race going. The men have no interest. Just like the Roadrunner has no interest in Wile E. Coyote, the men have no interest in Bossy, the power armor. So that's a power armor. There's no real nudity. That's not nudity. That's a robot. So everything that I'm doing in this series is completely subversive.
Looks great.
Thank you. That's Todd Blackwood on that one. That's a great one. Todd's a great friend of mine. He's become one of my best friends in a very short period of time. He and I became friends. We were helping out on Film Threat. We did the Star Wars on trial. I was doing like impressions for them, helping out on the channel, and Todd Blackwood was doing all the court stenography. So we became buddies, and he and I are talking about doing this really kind of interesting Star Wars parody, possibly in the future. And we're working on that right now. But as a precursor, he said, let me do a cover for the book. And I had this idea in my head for this Uncle Sam based, we want you effing for the future. Because in the second issue, that's going to be in there. There's going to be a commercial. They're going to be. Okay. So the backstory is that nobody wants to volunteer for this effing for the future program. It's a program that like the military, the women's military has out. They've got all these ads out. We want you effing for the future. And in the scene in the second issue, they go, maybe we should think about changing the slogan. And before the princess of Glon, she's the princess. So she feels like she has to do something. And because no one has volunteered for this program, she says, well, I'll do it then. So she volunteers to be the pilot for this power armor to go out into the wilderness and collect these sperm samples because nobody else wants to do it. But little does she know, it's never going to happen. You know, the coyote never gets the Roadrunner. And the Bossy is never going to get...
just like the Roadrunner, or the coyote will paint a hole in the side of a tunnel. Is there painted holes that they're going to crash into? Metaphorically speaking.
It's more reality based, but it is completely slapstick comedy based and not quite. I mean, ultimately, like every story ends with her getting hit, and no matter how hard she gets hit, she goes flying into the sky, crashing through the wilderness and lands damaged and like back to the drawing board, because that's the ending has to ultimately be, fuck, didn't work out. Try again. Issue 1, the last page is the reveal of the Bossy 2. The Bossy 1 is the first power armor. The Bossy 2 is the follow-up armor. Well, the follow-up armor has a mouth that's shaped like this. So, but the actual realities of like the sex isn't coming. There's no sexuality. There's no sexiness. There's no euphoric thoughts of desire. There's no desire. This is purely science. There's a group of women who desperately need to keep their society alive. And the only way to do that is by accessing the ancient sperm that exists in these creatures, these Bigfoots, who are not interested in them in any sexual capacity either. So to have a book that the whole premise revolves around sex, but it's not really sexy. It's not lecherous. It doesn't make you want to go have sex. It actually just puts a light on how silly sex really is. It's wiggling around with one another. It's like
I have a whole slew of filthy jokes to make, but I'm going to refrain. I cultivated a wholesome image, so
I understand. I'm like good friends with Wes from Thinking Critical, and I mean Wes kind of like hurt my feelings when he reached out to me to basically tell me that he could not have me on the channel while I was promoting this book. And I was just sort of like, oh, come on. You know me. You know that this must be something deeper than what it seems to be. And it is so much deeper than what it seems to be. So, I mean, I really believe that
there's three-legged men.
Oh, yeah. No three-legged men were harmed during the making of this book. They're animals, John. They're just friendly animals out in the wilderness. in the sex. So one of the jokes in the book is that they wrote into their genetics that each generation's penis would be a little larger than the next. So it says that this has led to some three-legged men having to move into our oceans because the penises are too long to be walking around on land anymore, and they can't walk. So they had to move into the sea. And now they roam our oceans in renewed peace. And this sort of thing of like, the men aren't men. The woman isn't a woman. She's a robot power armor going into the wilderness to collect sperm samples from animals. So, I mean, it's a science fiction story that only extensively looks like it has anything to do with real sex.
It's the Jane Goodall story.
Exactly. Except she was just trying. Well, maybe she was. Maybe this is the Jane Goodall
only difference is she didn't have power armor. Yeah.
We don't know how many times she got rebuffed by some male ape who she was trying to get down with. We don't know. How do we know?
There's a series of Bigfoot romance novels actually called Coom for Bigfoot. I was going to review. Yes. It's funny that you said that. I have
not heard about that. That's hysterical.
I heard about this years ago. And little spoiler, issue 5 of Heroic Tales, if we get there, will have a Bigfoot story, but it's not a sexy Bigfoot story.
That's funny though. That just like, I mean, just because that's clever, it's like when you're dealing with an erotic thing, it's like, it's always about, sort of trying to extreme the situation a little bit so that it can become a little provocative in one way or another. So that very simple premise of like, oh, if you think the black guys in porn are really getting a lot of attention, wait till you meet my pal Bigfoot. Like I would do like a Bigfoot male gigolo comic book in a heartbeat. Bigfoot male gigolo, yeah. or Sasquatch gigolo.
I remember when I lived in Albuquerque, we went to a couple of bookstores. There were so many good used bookstores, and there was series of erotic Bigfoot books. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Every time you think you heard it all, somebody says, have you heard this? And you realize the depths of human perversion sinks even lower.
It's so fun. There's so many fun things to do like that. I mean, like people don't get wild enough and do funny enough concepts. I had a concept. I was just like silly that I was hanging out with my friend. He lived up in Lake Tahoe, and we would be around walking through the woods, going on hikes and stuff. Beautiful over there. And you would find these trees that looked as if, I mean, they were probably struck by lightning or something, but they looked as if like Superman had punched them into ribbons. And I literally started like concocting this silly comic book called, it was like Bigfoot tree fighter. And I'm like, little do we know, the trees are secretly plotting to destroy all sentient life on planet Earth.
Well,
And the only thing standing between us and them. Yes. Yeah. Well, exactly. And Bigfoot's just running around punching trees because they're evil. Just trust him. These are evil trees.
I'm going to explain everything about Bigfoot in issue 5 of Heroic Tales. So, guys, you got to back my book. It's on Kickstarter right now. I'll bring up the campaign in a little bit.
Are you using any like real world info on Bigfoot?
No, it's superheroes. So it's a superhero real world and pseudoscience. Let's I can't give it away more than that. So
I love that
Bigfoot
stuff.
meets superheroes.
Yeah,
it's coming right at us.
Right for us.
That tree's coming right at. Matter of fact, I had a roommate that a tree went right at him after a couple of beers. He right into a tree.
Well, it's the thing. It's like, if I hadn't nailed that parrot to the perch, this is a dead parrot. If I hadn't nailed that parrot to the perch, he would have muscled through those bars.
In for the
if I didn't destroy that tree.
You know what's funny? I think for those of you who don't know what Jesse's talking about, this is Monty Python. I tell you, there was like a 30-year, and all of a sudden, Monty Python. Nobody knows Monty Python anymore. I think that's a generational thing.
Oh my God, guys. If you haven't been able to get into Monty Python, and you know what? I think part of it, Netflix had done like a flying circus thing. They picked the worst sketches. They're like, these are the best sketches. Their picks were terrible. If they would have let me pick the sketches and fucking organize oh my God, I could turn anybody onto Monty Python in a fucking instant. They have so many pieces of brilliant writing.
You know what's funny about Monty Python? It came on Netflix and in chronological order. So I was like, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch every Monty Python, starting with the first episode in chronological order. And my wife goes, "Oh, wow, I've always heard about it. I never really watched it." So we both sat down on the couch, turned on the TV. By the end of the first episode, she was vacuuming. She lost interest.
Well, wait a second. Let me say that, though, because it's hard for a couple things. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't hold up on a lot of levels. It's a product of its time. There's a language barrier. Think about language barrier plus product of time. The language of the time and the language barrier.
We say with comedy doesn't travel well over distance and time.
Well, some of it does. I mean, I think some of the universal stuff, the dead parrot sketch, the cheese shop, the killer joke, them on the fucking battlefield giving their freaking CO a present, and getting upset with him because he wants to fight the battle and like not accept the present right now. I mean, they have so many brilliant premises, but it is a bit of you have to be willing to put up with some things that you might not get.
Right.
And
it's a lot of work
that you're going to get are amazing.
Like I imagine, like my father, I always felt bad. It's one of those things I'd go back in time and change. But I forget, Duck Soup was on. And I was a kid. I must have been.
Oh, I'm a big Marx Brothers fan too.
And he said, "John, let's sit down. We're going to watch Duck Soup." And we turned it on. And I'm like, it's not funny to a kid in 1980.
I was trying to get my kid. I put on a day at the races, and I literally went straight to the fucking Tootsie Fruitsian that goes on between Chico and Groucho, where he's got, "Hey, get your Tootsie Fruitsie ice cream." He's like buying the books and he keeps going back to get more books. And they did not get it. And I was really bummed out. But I will say this, and I'm looking forward to turning my kids on to some more Monty Python, because I put on Holy Grail and they watched the whole movie and they basically looked at me and they went like, "What is that?" Like, they were scared to laugh. They kept thinking like, "This is weird. Why is this so weird and different than anything else I've ever seen?" And they slowly but surely kind of started to get the idea about why or where they were supposed to laugh, because I was laughing. And finally we get to the scene of the Bridge of Death. And they're about to approach the Bridge of Death. If you're not in my part of it, they approach the Bridge of Death. You have to answer me these questions 3 for the other side. They see everybody's really scared. And the first guy goes and he gets asked these 3 questions.
Oh, that's easy.
And he just goes right across the bridge. And literally the next guy who's a scaredy cat, he's like, "That's it. I'm going to go do it." So he goes up to do it. But the guy at the bridge, he changes the 3rd question last moment to a much more difficult question. Yeah. And the guy's like, "I don't know that.
I don't know that."
And they toss him into this abyss. At this point, my kids totally get it. And they start laughing their fucking asses off. We watched that scene 3 or 4 times together. And literally the next day, my 6-year-old child, my little girl, she stops me in the hallway while I'm trying to walk through and she goes, whoever approaches the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3 or the other side.
You know what? There's 2 things in Holy Grail that always make me laugh, and it's 2 jokes that are hardly ever referenced. The first is when they're crossing the bridge, and then it just goes into an intermission, and it plays the silly music. That makes me laugh every time. And the other one is when it just says a famous historian, and then also they just cut us with the sword.
I love the beginning. I love the beginning of all the people who were doing the subtitles getting sacked.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, there's all these the credits, and then there's these subtitles, and slowly the subtitles just start getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And then a new subtitle comes in and says, "Don't worry, we got rid of the weirdo who was doing the weird subtitles." And then they start doing weird subtitles, and then a new one comes in and goes, "Don't worry, we got rid of the weirdos who were doing the weird subtitles, who got rid of the first weirdos." Like. Man, their shit is so fucking funny. You ever want to freaking talk Monty Python with me? Dude, I'm all about it.
Related note, it was Easter. My sister has since passed, but one of the last times we went to her house for Easter, we're all sitting around after the meal, laying on the floor, and History of the World comes on, Mel Brooks. And that's a movie I grew up with. I could recite that movie, but I'm seeing it with my nieces and nephews who never saw it before.
So we're watching that too.
And they're just like horrified because it's so politically incorrect that they're making jokes that would get you canceled and I said, here comes my favorite joke. Here comes my favorite joke in the movie. So I was winding them up, and it was Cloris Leachman. She's in the French Revolution, and she goes, "Let's end this meeting on a high note." Yeah. Because they weren't laughing at anything, but after that, the dam broke, and they were just laughing at everything.
Sometimes that's what it takes, you know. And I see there's a couple of comments that I want to comment on. Somebody was talking about The Life of Brian, and I just want to say, if you guys are if anybody is fans,
that's my favorite Monty Python movie.
I'm adding mine too. Well, this didn't get posted. I just tried to post this comment here. Can you post this this link? This is a link to the.
Yeah, you got to put your links in the private chat.
I put it in the private chat. If you could post this, John. So this link that John's going to post, you can get copies of the first Kickstarter fundraiser that we did. The book's called King of Kings, and it's religious figures in a battle of the bands to determine the reigning religious ideology of the day. And absolutely, I did this book because of my passion for The Life of Brian. Mark Polton had brought the initial idea to me. He wanted to do behind the music with a Norse rock band that was led by Odin and Thor.
That's cool.
And then I said to him, what if there was a competition of these, a music competition, kind of like American Idol. I said, and it's called King of Kings, and that's how Jesus got the name, because like the Norse religion was really screwed over by Catholicism with the Crusades, and like if anybody had a bone to pick against Catholicism, and Catholicism had kind of made itself into a bad guy by how many people go around going, "You're going to hell, and you better be saved by Christ," and that kind of like aggressive attitude towards people has created a weird feeling from some people who don't or weren't raised Christian. And I said, and I think that could really mean something to somebody to demonstrate and act out some of these ways religion is perceived by people.
In their defense, if you're Norse, you don't get to go to heaven unless you murder somebody.
No, that's not true. And actually, Odin literally defends it in the comic. He says, I didn't mean that you had to go barreling into every stupid fight that comes your way. I meant you have to stand up for what you believe in. Be who you are. Be your authentic self. That's what it means to fight to the death. It's not fucking about fists. That's what stupid people think. Not fists. Fight with your mind. Fight with your heart. Never give up. Never surrender to your ideals. That's it. So if you like Life of Brian, fuck yes, man. You will love King of Kings.
That's right here. Oh,
it's totally that thing. And then the last thing from another comment said earlier when we were talking about the Tweeter Trash said, he said, sounds like a great thought experiment on the eventual result of modern feminism. I love it. It is absolutely a thought experiment on modern feminism, but it's not just modern. It's this whole notion of, we don't need those women. And honestly, we don't need each other, or we do need each other. We can split ways, but wouldn't it be nicer if we all came together? Isn't it better when you have friends? Isn't it better? Like, so we can do the thing, in our book, we give the women everything that modern feminism wants. They want a matriarchy. They want to be able to write their own thing and not have to deal with the way that all the women are going. But what you're going to see in the book is a lot of the women start acting like men. And that's what happens in our society. We're putting all of these women into positions of power who are acting like men.
Who kills the spiders?
The manly women. The manly women do. But no, it was absolutely my thing. I mean, and at the end of the day, I just think that it's a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale of the sexes. Hey, if we don't just work things out right now, it might be more difficult to do it down the line. And it's kind of a mistake.
I get where you're coming from, because one of my biggest pet peeves, and I try not to dwell on it, but I just can't stand identity politics. And a couple of people in my family don't understand what I mean by that. But I'm like, this. I'm getting too political already.
No. I love this conversation, and you're talking to the right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, so you're not a feminist? I'm like, feminism is identity politics. Like,
well, John,
we're all humans.
Don't tell anybody, and don't you tell anybody either, because I don't promote myself this way. But I'm non-binary. I am not a typical dude. I never felt like a typical dude.
Nobody's a typical dude.
Yeah, I don't think exactly, John. Nobody is, which is why it's so fucking stupid to sit here and fucking turn this into 1,000 different little denominations of people's sexuality.
Divide and conquer.
It's making everything about everybody's sexuality, which is the least fucking interesting part of them. And then two, it's literally just making everybody self-righteous and egotistical. It's all about me. Yep. You're a unique snowflake. Your name is your pronoun. You don't need a unique pronoun. Right. The people who say that we shouldn't have he and her and whatever else, and it should just be they, them, they're not wrong. We don't need those words. They, them would be enough. Adding additional programs? That's fucking stupid. No. What are you doing? You're going to add them?
To convey information, not obfuscate information.
Yes, yes. How
can it be either a male or
they, them is a better idea. It's also a better idea to have zang and zang zang. Like, no, it's either a better idea to make it simplified, or it's a better idea to make it more complex. And because I see, and people who are smart like John see the slippery slope that we're in, it starts out
I'm making complex on the internet.
LGBT, it just keeps fucking going, and it will keep going for forever.
This comment sums it up in a nutshell. It's divide and conquer.
Yes,
we all know it. We got everybody yelling at each other, and look at what a united. This is another controversial thing.
Love how
old monocultures survive. Cultures of what is the word? Multicultures don't survive. You know what I mean? Like, and right now, I firmly believe we are being social engineered to destroy Western civilization and replace it with collectivism.
Well, they've gotten rid of the idea of the melting pot. Not only did they get rid of it, they've demonized it. Now it's appropriation. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
I'm honoring something that I absorbed by.
And I felt for that.
I think I remember so wonderful.
I remember when kids wanted to dress up as Indians, and back in Albuquerque, it was like I was in college going, oh no, your kids can't dress up as Indians, and they're like, but they love Indians. You know what I mean? This is what I was saying to my girlfriend about her kid, and she looked at me like, what? You New Yorkers? But she's absolutely right. You know what I mean? Just like I dress up as Superman because I love Superman. The girl wanted to dress up as Indians because she loved Indians,
Dude, I have never...
I fell for it.
Blade was one of my favorite characters. Those movies sold me on that character so bad. I had a pitch at Marvel that I was told at the time was one of the greatest pitches that had ever been that they had ever come across their desk. It was Mark Paniccio who was doing the thing at the time. But they took a year to get that. They basically presented that pitch at the Marvel Summit like a year after I gave it to them, and it was too late. They had already promised Blade to Victor Geschler, and Blade was showing up in the X-Men comics. I thought that shit was not inspired at all. It was the complete wrong way for them to reintroduce Blade into the Marvel Universe in a meaningful way. What I had suggested was really, really good, and they just... They just took too long to make it happen. And nowadays, I wouldn't even be able to fucking pitch that book. And I'm one of the best people to write him. I'd be one of the best people to write Black Panther because I love that character. I love what that character means.
You can't write Black Panther. You're not black. I mean, white people.
I'm not a king either.
White people could create them, but you're not black. That's an inconvenient fact. I hate this identity. Oh, it's nonsense. You know what I mean?
It's so terrible. I mean, the reason why I love the giant-size X-Men so much was because they were all from some unique place in the world. And all of those places that they were from spoke to me on some level. Whether it was Banshee from Ireland or, Thunderbird and he's Native American, or Colossus is from Russia, Kurt's from Germany. All of these places meant something. And a lot of these characters are white. The idea that these characters are all white now, that really, really bothers me. That is the height of racism. You are literally now going, there are dozens and dozens of different styles of these white people, but we're just going to consider them all as the same thing now.
Yep.
That's racism, guys.
I don't know.
Shit.
The character that I love the best is Ben Grimm, the Thing,
Yeah.
And that guy's orange made out of rocks. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I used to say that all the time. I used to be like, my favorite characters are turtles. But they're human beings.
You know what? I never thought of that before. You just made me think of something. Do you think that the universal appeal of the Ninja Turtles are the fact that any race could claim them?
Oh, absolutely. It's the same universal appeal of Spider-Man. And this is the only argument that you can really make in favor of the DEI world that we live in, where Spider-Man has the gift of anybody can identify with him. The Ninja Turtles have that same kind of power. Aliens have that power. When you can have a book that's about an alien and they're kind of humanoid, but they're not. There is something wonderful about when nobody is exactly represented by the thing. Therefore, everybody is, because because when it's not representing anybody, it then becomes about the human experience.
Well,
it becomes about the heart and the soul.
He always had that costume. You couldn't tell what he is. He had universal problems. I never looked at I know, but see, I think if you think a character, people only identify your character based on the race, then there shouldn't be any black characters, because black people are only 13% of America. You know what I mean? So if these people, if Marvel and DC actually believed that representation was that important, and they wouldn't have any black characters, because you don't want a character to sell only 13% to your audience. So they know it is at a level that doesn't really work.
It's so stupid. There's a level to this that is an unspoken real racism that has existed in entertainment for ages. You see all these cardboard cutouts, like most black people presented on television. I mean, granted, it's gotten better in the past 10 years or whatever, because there's more roles for them. So there's more dynamic. But for years, every black actor in Hollywood, every black voiceover actor, they had to sound like this. I'm black. I'm Luke. How you doing? That's right. That's all. That's what a black person sounds like.
And they were all bald.
Yeah. And if you happen to come from some other region and you had a regional accent, you don't sound black. So you literally could not work in Hollywood.
If you're a black male in the media, you're portrayed as femi.
Well, that's that too. So
you know what I mean? So
they end up stereotyping everybody. They just stereotype all the people. And I mean, that's the thing right now. The representation that we have for women, it's terrible. This isn't the type of representation that we want for women. They're painting all of these women to be completely perfect and kind of like men, sexless and just not provocative in any way, but just sort of there and empowered and not having to earn anything, not needing anything. I have everything I need already. Well, then why am I watching a movie about you or reading a book about you? The point of movies and books is that there's a character that wants something, and if they want it bad enough, we will follow them to the ends of the earth to get it. One Piece is about some fucking crazy stretchy guy who wants to be the king of the pirates. And it sounds like the most insane fucking thing the first time he says it, but he wants to be the king of the pirates so badly that the third, fourth time he says it, you're like, you're gonna be the king of the pirates, and I'm gonna sit here until you are, buddy, because he wants it. He wants it. He gets it. I don't even have to get why he wants it. I want him to have it. I like him.
One of my favorite jokes when people I say I'm against identity politics, and people just you're a TERF. And I go, how dare you call me a TERF? How dare you? I'm not a feminist. And then they don't know how to react.
Yeah. It's just so funny because I'm a feminist, but a real feminist is just somebody who believes that ideologically, no one on planet Earth should be told that they're less in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
There
That's
can be a practical reality that you don't have. Yeah, exactly. A humanist. You could have a practical reality where you only have one leg, but I'm not going to tell you, nah, man, you're never going to be able to work as an electrician if you really want to do that. Like if where there's a fucking will, there is a way. And we should all be encouraging of all people.
To
we
be fair, I wouldn't hire a one-legged electrician.
Well, this is why it's going to be really hard for them. But maybe they've got something under the surface. They're going to impress you.
Maybe if they were a three-legged man, then they would just balance out to a normal man.
Well, I see. There we go.
Which at that point, I'm going to bring up your campaign one more time because at 8:30 I have Two Beards, One Comic with Kelsey Shannon. So
yes, amazing.
Bring up your campaign, and I'll bring up my campaign.
We've been getting like blocked a little bit here there, like on social media. So if you guys see this book and know anybody who just loves the fucking over the top out there stuff that pushes the envelope, or people who like erotic comics, pretty art of beautiful things. My requirement with my artist, he's a Marvel artist who's working incognito, Dizzy Arnold. And, when we started working on this thing, I said, look, if we're going to do this and I'm going to use nudity to sell this book or whatever, it has to be beautiful. I said, women are beautiful. I want the book to be beautiful.
Tell me this isn't great comic book art right here.
Thank you. I wanted it to be, I said, like, if it's going to be an erotic book, it should be gorgeous. And there's so many of these books.
I love this retro look right here.
Yeah. Thank you.
It looks like almost like goofing on Soviet propaganda. And this is just great. I could see a tamer version of this in Marvel or DC,
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. The thing about like the sexy women or whatever, like these erotic books, I'm sure there's some guys out there who are buying these comics and they're masturbating to them or whatever. But I also know that there is a part of the population who just loves beauty and sees beauty in the human form, and that nude bodies are beautiful. They're beautiful. So on that level, I understand. And I said, well, okay, if I'm going to do this book, not only does it have to be funny, and does it have to have the books that around the back, and has to have that the cover story doesn't screw up the story that's inside the book. I need my nudity on the covers to match the thing on in the back. But the other thing was, it needs to be a gorgeous book, because what are we celebrating? We're celebrating the human form. We're celebrating the female form, and that's beautiful. So I don't want to sit here and deliver something that's going to,
maybe I was naive, whatever, but I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Bow. He does Wolf and Batsy, and he draws a sexy vampire girl, and he draws a monstrous werewolf, and they have misadventures, and he gets a lot of commissions and fans, and it's a lot of women wanting sexy pictures of Batsy. He says, they're straight women, but they love the gorgeous, and Juju, when we were talking on at the party, she's a girl, normal girl. She likes the fact that you have sexy women in your cup. I was showing her, Renzo's artwork, and she's like, yeah, men want heroic figures and sexy women, and women want heroic men and sexy women. It's just human nature.
Everybody, let me give you a bullet to put in your gun when you were talking to people who don't get this. There were, by percentages, less women saw the Marvels than saw Captain Marvel. More men stuck with it than women. They lost more, and by a significant margin. They lost more of the female market. Same thing with Fury Road and Furiosa. The men showed up, less of them showed up, but still way more men percentage-wise showed up to Furiosa than the women. The women are the sexists. The women are the ones who like masculinity. The women are the ones who tune out when you feminize masculine ideas.
Yeah. This is a cycle that I'm seeing over and over again. I remember in the 70s, there was this big Alan Alda push of making these like femi men, and then it rebounded until Sylvester Stallone. This is just another cycle. when you're as old as the hills like me, you see this nonsense for what it is. It's just another cycle.
Oh yeah, no, and I got the same thing. You know, I'm 41. You know, I have been a very passionate participant in politics and social justice for my whole life. When I was in high school, there was a need to bring attention to a lot of injustice that was going on. But what they did was they took people like me over and they manipulated us. They moved our attention to other things.
They took your good natures and took advantage of it.
Yes. When I was growing
I'm
up,
going to say I did this, happened to me too. Yeah. And while we're talking, I'm just going to bring up my Kickstarter campaign.
Oh yeah,
too.
hell yeah! Go support John's new book. When I was growing up, it was all about pollution, right? Well, this is what they do in America. They will make new terms that they can control, and they will have those terms be the terms that everybody talks about. They'll be the talking points. When you go and you see the news and everybody's repeating the exact same thing, the exact same thing, the exact same thing, people think it's harmless, but it's not harmless when it's used to introduce new terms. So a few years ago, we got introduced a new term called climate change, and everybody's focus went to climate change. And we don't have to talk about whether or not climate change is real to say that climate change and that discussion has completely railroaded the discussion about pollution, about the air, about the freaking water, about our bodies. You know how our freaking sperm counts are going down because we've got freaking plastics, microbeads that they're finding in our sperm cells? I mean, it's crazy. But instead, what are we talking about? Climate change only.
Well, I remember when COVID happened. Literally, I'm at work. We have a radio. We're listening to music. It breaks in. There's this pandemic. I mean, we're talking. This is minutes of COVID, and they said we recommend social distancing. So we go into coffee break, and we're all sitting around talking. So one of the guys gets up and starts screaming, "Social distance!" I said, "This term didn't exist 18 minutes ago, and now you're enforcing it." And the guy, he's walking around with a handkerchief over. I was just like, "Oh my God!" This just shows you who would be putting people in the ovens. That's what COVID did. But I just want to point this out. This is the Heroic Tales cover by Michael T. Gilbert of Mr. Monster fame. It's on Kickstarter right now. For every platform, I'm going to have a variant cover. So when I go to Indiegogo, I'll have a different cover. But Jesse, I could talk to you again. We did talk. We talked for freaking 12 hours one night. You got to come on again because I think we just,
with you, man. Always, I will be back. We can make it a regular thing, brother. I always enjoy chatting with you, and and
you only live a couple blocks away. We go to Lucia's, and then we could play some board games.
Well, I'm finally moving back to Orange County.
Figures. I make a friend and he's leaving. That's happened all the time.
But I'm here.
You know what?
I end up.
I have to protect my emotions. That's it. We're done.
I end up being here plenty, and I can definitely be on the show, and because my kids are here, but my girl's in California, and her and I want to take things to the next level. So
the chat's already rooting for you to come back. So you come back.
Oh, thanks, guys.
I'll message you tomorrow because I have a lot
for everybody who has backed the project. Thanks for everybody who's backing John's project. Support John. He's such a good guy. He's such a genuine guy. Like I said, I know so many people in this business, and right now, I mean, every single one of the people in the business, they deserve support. They have passion. They like comics, whatever. But we really need to focus on empowering people like John. Empowering people who are reasonably minded, who aren't shit talking, who aren't trying to.
You're going back to Cali? I don't think so.
But really, I mean, it's about the wise gourmands, the consumers who really get comics, who really understand what's going on here, helping to put their money and put their energetic support behind people who really do get it, because we can completely change this industry in a very short period of time. And, the moment somebody like me is empowered, like if I was in Eric July's position right now, dude, there are so many brilliant comic book creators who would be working right now on things that you'd be like, Jesse, oh my God, where did you find this guy? Where did you find that? Where did you find? Like, I know them because I've been in the industry for a long time and nobody's ever given them the time of day. I know them because I've been doing this and I know how to do it. And I don't care if it's me. I care if the books are great. And for me, it's about, I'm the creative director. I'll do and write books as long as I have to. But at a certain point, I'm going to just be setting up other people to succeed. That's what I want. I want to be in a position where I can help get other people to make things that I would want to read. So that's what I want. I want to read more great comic books. I want to collect more awesome action figures, and that's not going to happen the way the business is right now. But if
I
somebody
want to
can get
address what
themselves in a
Courtney
position
said.
to organize,
Courtney's another punk rocker. We were talking in chats, and she you can see videos of her singing with like the Dickies and bands like that. But that's why I love John. Punk's not dead. We're just old, and we have bad backs, and we need naps.
hell yes. Come on. How punk rock is my comic book? Somebody today said this is like the most punk rock thing ever. And I was like, yes, it is. I'm an old school punk. I'm a musician as well. My first band's called Baptized by Fire from years ago in Long Island, but we were a punk metal band. And I am a punk at heart. I have a band these days called Dilf USA. I have colorful mohawks that I put up, and I go out on stage, and we're basically like a punk rock Steel Panther. So if you're a punk, go look up Dilf USA. You'll really like what we're doing. And this is half the reason why me and John get along, because
I was a captive audience. I had to watch your video.
That's right. I showed you. Sorry about that.
No, I'm just teasing.
I was excited to show it to somebody.
It was funny. Yeah, it was good. Well made. You know what I mean? It's a shame that MTV had 25 years of broadcasting and only 3 years of playing videos. You know, it's a shame.
It is a shame. And you know, somebody said I talk up other people and some guys only talk up their stuff. That's so sweet. I'm glad that you pointed that out, because it makes me want to talk up another person so badly too. My buddy Aaron Sparrow. If you guys don't follow Aaron is another person. You're like, you want to support me? Support Aaron. Aaron is my editor. Ages. He's my best friend. He and I have been friends for years and years. He's one of the most brilliant creative people as a writer, as an editor. I mean, he is somebody who, he and I have one of the most diverse groups of people that we work with behind the scenes in comics. And it's mostly from Aaron. I inherited all these people from Aaron. And it's just because he organically tries to get the best people for the job. And it just so happens lots of women and lots of blacks and Hispanics and whatever other fucking thing. And I wouldn't even have to say that if we were living in a world that was sane. You know, the proof is in the pudding. But
Aaron also, he's working with Renzo.
Yes,
Renzo's
I still back
that I have. Yeah, they're working on a treatment for something big. I hope it works out.
They've got a book called
maybe Renzo could maybe
do I've been working on it with Aaron for, just in small way as his friend and his editor, and just kind of giving notes and help. This thing's been going on for so long, so I'm like I'm in the process. He's so talented. I've been trying to get him to do an independent book with me for years, and I could never get him to do it because he was a little shy about doing something independent. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I'll hook you up. He was just asking me. He said, "What shows have you gone on?" And I said, "I'm going on John's Long Box next." So I will introduce you to him. You'll love Aaron. He's so
I follow him on Twitter. We've interacted before.
Oh, he's the best.
And I put out general statements like anybody in the audience. You like punk, you like comics, we'll come on and talk, because I didn't book a lot of things because I wanted to promote and go on other people's channels. So if anybody has a channel they want me to come on and push my comic, I'd love that too. Same with Jesse. Come on. But I got to get going because in 20 minutes I got Kelsey.
Yes, Aaron Sparrow on MVP's show. He's also on Thinking Critical. He's also on
we're going to be talking about this.
Tom McDonald show. Or Josh McDonald show.
Yep.
But yes. Yeah, well, thanks for having me, John. I'll see you again next time. Have a great your next show. And please, guys, if you like the book, we're getting held back because of the curse word and the nudity and stuff. So directly share it. Literally just tag a friend.
It's called Shadow Band.
Text a friend your link.
Share that link.
Yeah. Just be like, yo, Jim, check this out, buddy. I think you dig it. And trust me, people aren't even mad at me. People who I thought would be mad at me when I share this thing with them, they're even all respectful because they laugh at the title and they think
over the top. Funny.
You know what I mean? It's over the top, and they go, "This isn't my thing." But and then when I talk to them a little bit, they go, "Maybe I'll check it out." So it's really cool.
You understand that it's over the top. It doesn't have that. You want to read it in the bathroom when nobody's looking. You know what I mean? It's over the top is the only way I could. I can't even talk anymore. But I'm gonna get going. 25 minutes from now, or 8:30, I'll be same channel, same beard time with Kelsey Shannon, and we'll be talking about Marvel Secret Wars.
Stick around, guys.
I'm reading it.
Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Oh, and one last thing. Could anybody check to see if I'm shadow banned on Twitter, on Kickstarter? I mean, I could look it up because I got it saved on my computer. But if go to Kickstarter, look up Heroic Tales. Just let me know if you could actually find it. And if so, just send me a message. I'm curious. Peace out, homies. Over the top. That's the wrestling movie, yes.
Later.
Yep. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks a lot.